Hello everybody, this is Freddy from We Scale Your Brand, where we help 6-figure and 7-figure e-commerce brands grow through Facebook ads. And today's video will be all about duplicating your Facebook ads and why that is bad, especially if you want to scale your ads. So I would say let's get right into it with the first, first point of why duplicating your campaigns is bad. And the first point is simply because it is harder to get out of the learning phase. You split your overall budget into multiple campaigns, which makes it harder for you or for each campaign to get out of the learning phase, especially if you're on a low budget. If you're spending 500 per day or even 1,000, it can be quite hard to get to those 50 conversions per day that you need to get out of the learning phase. And, to get out of the learning phase is one of the most crucial things when it comes to Facebook ads. It is what kind of, stabilizes your performance. And I'm a big fan of, having one campaign, especially, if you're only selling one product, you have one scaling campaign, you put like 2 to 3 ads in there, and that makes it overall way easier to get out of the learning phase, and you just scale that campaign up. The second or third point, are more in-depth, going over, more specifics of the Facebook bidding system. So maybe it will be a bit more complicated for you, but I will try to break it down as easy as possible. And the second point is because your ROAS will go down over time. Many people are concerned when it comes to duplicating their campaigns that there will be like an audience overlap. That can be the point, but it is usually only if you target very niche audiences, if you use the narrow feature, if you exclude a lot of people. So for this example, let's assume we are targeting broad. So no restrictions, the whole United States, basically men, women, 18 to 65 plus, right? So the way Facebook will target, especially if you have some ad spend, let's say you spend 10K already, is Facebook will target basically the people who have the highest estimated action rate. So the people who are most likely to do the action that you want, for e-commerce, optimized for purchases, they will be purchased. So Facebook will target the people who they think are most likely to, end up purchasing, right? So if you understand that, it is quite easy to understand that. And that is that there are more negative impressions. So people will just keep scrolling than positive impressions from people, right? So obviously the best positive impression that you can have is somebody who ends up purchasing upon seeing the ad for the first time, right? However, there are other positive impressions. For example, this could be, somebody watching your video for 95%, somebody liking, somebody commenting. However, you have to understand that there are far more negative impressions than positive ones, in a specific day. So now if you duplicate your ad, what you're basically telling Facebook is, find me more people in the same audience with the same ad. And each ad is obviously, if you're using Post ID, if you're kind of collecting the comments, each ad is basically building its own lookalike. So each ad, even if you duplicate it, will go after similar people. So now if you duplicate and you're telling Facebook, hey, I want, the audience is the same and the ads are the same. I want you to go after kind of the same people. What Facebook will do is they will find, similar people, but they will find people who have a lower estimated action rate, which will then lead to, a higher CPC, a higher CPM, and a higher CPA. Because obviously you're kind of decreasing your rank as an advertiser on Facebook because you're not having as many positive interactions or impressions as you used to have, right? So if you understand that you've already understood a lot about Facebook ads, you basically have to understand Facebook will target people who have the highest estimated action rate. Basically, super simple said, Facebook will target people who they think are most likely to purchase from you. There are more people out there who don't purchase than people end up purchasing. And therefore, if you kind of duplicate with the same ad, same audience, you are reaching more people that have, that won't end up purchasing. And therefore, your advertiser rank kind of decreases, which leads to a higher CPC, higher CPM, and a higher CPA in the end, which is obviously not what you want because you want the cheapest CPA possible. And then the last point kind of goes along with that, and that is simply that, you prevent any campaign from being great and depend on luck, right? On day one, your original campaign may perform great. On day two, Facebook thinks and they will target the people with the highest estimated action rate on your duplication campaign. and then the duplicate may perform great, right? And this will constantly happen because you're preventing any campaign from being great, which will not help you in the long run. This happens because there are only so many people that convert per day, especially in one specific audience with specific ads, even if you target broad. Let's say there are 10 people out there that converted $10 for you. So now on day one, the original campaign might get all of those people for $10, and the other campaign might get none. On the following day, however, that switches, and by duplicating, you're only making your system dumber in exchange for a short-term win. And basically the only instance, when you should consider kind of duplicating campaigns are maybe, special sale occasions where you really need to like ramp up the budget in a super fast way, Black Friday, 4th of July sales, stuff like this. And this is, basically explain, why duplicating your Facebook ads or your Facebook campaigns is bad. That is not to say that you can't use the same audience twice. For example, I use broad in my creative testing, and then I also use broad when it comes to scaling. However, I don't duplicate that scaling campaign, for example, or I don't duplicate the broad ad set within that scaling campaign. That is stuff that I would not do. So yeah, I hope that this video helped you to understand why duplicating your Facebook ads or your Facebook campaigns, Facebook ad sets, and Facebook ads is bad. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. And if you are a 6 or 7 figure e-commerce brand that looks for help when it comes to scaling, especially in Q4, feel free to hit the first link in the description and fill out the form to get in touch with us.